Good evening. As we all know, Halloween is over and it's about time we start preparing for our second favorite holiday, Christmas. And what better way to do that than to learn how to make an ugly Christmas sweater. Ugly Christmas sweaters are lovable, conversation-starting, and fun pieces of clothing to add to your wardrobe this Christmas season, and they involve these 3 simple steps. First, you're going to need to gather your supplies. Second, you're going to need to cut some things out and assemble them together. And then lastly, just add them to your sweater. Making Christmas sweaters has been something that I have done for 2 years now, and the fun just keeps growing. I love it so much. Okay, so first, we're going to gather our supplies. I would start with finding a sweater. Where you could normally find a sweater at is Goodwill, because you don't want to buy a new sweater and then just make it ugly, even though ugly is nice, but nobody wants to spend $22 just to hot glue some felt onto their sweaters. So then next, you're going to need to buy some felt. And I'm going to show you how to make one with a snowman on it. So you're going to need orange, black, there's going to be hearts that come out of the snowman's pipe, so you can either use like just any color that you want, but I used a tan just because it kind of matches my sweater. And you're going to need brown as well, and white. Okay, next you're going to need scissors, hot glue gun, marker, and then just some common household items to make the circles with so that they're not all wonky because it's ugly, but you don't want it to be too ugly. Okay. So then next, you're going to want to start cutting everything out. I would start with the snowman, and I actually already cut everything out because nobody wants to be here for a good hour and a half learning how to make a sweater. So the first one I did was, actually I kind of just put them all on there to make sure that they would fit. So I made the bottom with the top of this bowl. I kind of just put it down and traced it. And then the middle was made with this guy, and then the top was made with this one. So I basically just trace all of them, and then you're going to cut them out. And then after that, you can use the black felt, and you're just going to want to draw it yourself, basically. A top hat, a pipe, and then 3 buttons and 2 eyeballs, and then little type of black circles for the smile. Next, you're going to want to, you're going to want to cut them out, obviously. Do that as well. Don't just put them on there and leave them there. Next, you can do the carrot. So you basically just draw the carrot on the orange felt and cut it out. And then I used tan for my hearts. I basically just folded it over and then traced a part of the heart on there and then cut it out. And I did that 3 times. I made them small, medium, and large. And then you take brown felt, and you make the stick arms, okay? So, of course, you're going to want to trace all this. You might trace them like a couple times because you don't really like the way that they come out the first time, which is totally fine, unless you're like perfect at everything. You just do it all once and you're good. So, after that, after you cut it all out, I would first, to begin with, kind of just lay your sweater out and decide how exactly you want to put the snowman on there before you glue anything down, because once you glue it down, that's it. There's no going back. So you're going to want to lay it all on there first just to see what it's going to look like. And when I put the snowman together, I kind of put them underlapping, like there's the big one and then the middle one goes somewhat under it, and then the small one goes somewhat under it because I don't like the way it looks the other way. It looks kind of weird. So then you can start by putting on the eyeballs, putting on the carrot for the nose, and then the smile as well. And the way you put them all on there is basically up to you. Nobody's snowman is going to look the same. And then you can do the arms. And the way I did it is I cut them out and then I flipped it over, because if you don't, you can see all the black writing on there. And, well, it looks ugly when you do it like that. So but not the good kind of ugly. So then you put the buttons and the pipe out of his mouth, and then the hearts, and you can do the hearts whichever way you want, like if you want it to go to big to little or little to big. It's really just up to you. And then after you do that, just make sure that it all looks okay to you and this is how you want it completely. And once you're done with that, it's just going to be the final step of gluing everything down. So you take your hot glue gun and you just start putting, I would put small dots just in random places and then set it down. Boom. And I would start by putting everything on the snowman first. Just so, well, just because that's the way that I like to start actually. You can do it however you want, but that's the way I like to start. So, you start gluing everything down. And this actually going to take a second. So when you're doing this, I know you're getting super excited to wear your sweater. Everyone does. You also don't have to make the snowman look exactly like I make it look. You can do whatever you want. Like during the last minute touches of it, you can add whatever you want to sort of just make it look however you want it to. It doesn't have to be anything like crazy specific. It doesn't have to look exactly like mine either. You can add your own pizzazz to it and make it however you want it to look. It's all up to you, really. And then as you do this, I would try to take some of the extra hot glue string that's kind of just following you around everywhere off. Because eventually it's going to start getting tangled and it's going to start pulling things weird ways. And it's going to make it harder to glue everything down. So just keep gluing your millions of pieces that you have to glue onto this thing. But don't worry, it's all worth it. Because everyone's going to love your ugly Christmas sweater. And they're going to ask where you got it. And you're going to be able to say, I made it myself. Because I'm cool. And who doesn't love Christmas? Okay, so once you have everything glued down on your snowman, I would just get the really basic areas so he doesn't like flip around or anything while he's on your sweater, and just kind of glue them down on the corners. And then just take your hearts and glue them. And you want to glue them where they're kind of coming, like it looks like they're coming out of his pipe that he's smoking. And just put like 3 dots on there. And just put them however you want. Okay. Hopefully I glued everything down. Oh wait, almost forgot his arms. Okay. And then once you get everything done, gluing down, maybe. It should look like this. Nice, right? Beautiful. Okay, so in conclusion, making ugly Christmas sweaters takes 3 simple steps, and that's gathering your supplies, cutting everything out and assembling it together, and then attaching it to your sweater. This is becoming a fashionable new trend, and it has been for a while, but I would get on it while it's still new, and I'm sure it's fun, and you can do it in groups, as friends, have parties, everything like that. But in conclusion, ugly Christmas sweaters are basically just to have fun and show that there's a different type of style to every person. And I'd like to thank you for watching me make this and bearing with me while I glued everything down. Have a good night.